Over here, we've got he said, she said on Benghazi and Benghazi Gate, so-called, right? So now this is all about Susan Rice right after the attacks, 5 days after the attacks, go on all the talk shows. And, well, I don't want to put words in her mouth. Let's watch what she said.
Based on the best information we have to date, what our assessment is as of the present is in fact what it began spontaneously in Benghazi as a reaction to what had transpired some hours earlier in Cairo, where of course, as you know, there was a violent protest outside of our embassy sparked by this hateful video.
Now, the Republicans are all over for that. In fact, here, let me show you a quick mashup of all the Republicans outraged by this. Let's go to A21.
She expressly says this was not a pre-planned or premeditated attack. Why was that done?
She's not qualified.
Is so disconnected to reality, I don't trust her.
I still don't know how anybody of that capacity could have been on television 5 days later saying the things that were said.
So disconnected from reality. Now, you heard what Susan Rice said. Now, let me read you what all the government officials were given as a statement. Quote, this is the official government position. The currently available information suggests that demonstrations in Benghazi were spontaneously inspired by the protests at the U.S. Embassy in Cairo and evolved into a direct assault against the U.S. diplomatic post in Benghazi and subsequently its annex. There are indications that extremists participated in the violent demonstrations. It's almost word for what Susan Rice said, except she did leave out the part about extremists. So when you look at that, guys, this just seems like politics, right?
Exactly. I mean that's the point I want to make. I mean, before the election, even before everything got started, right after the new 9/11 happened, the focus was on President Obama. What a horrible foreign policy he has. Look what happened in Libya. Oh my God, this guy cannot be reelected. He's going to be terrible in foreign policy. Look what happened in Benghazi. Why aren't we talking about Benghazi? Benghazi. He gets reelected. Susan Rice shouldn't be confirmed for the post because look what happened in Benghazi. It's the same argument. It's just you refocus your target. It's always based on who you need to get out or be in conflict with.
And now let me say one more thing about it. Now, you know, Michael and I had this debate yesterday on the show. And look, I think Susan Rice purposely left out the extremist part. And I think that before the election, they didn't want to go in that direction. They played politics too. But here's my next question. So what? Like, so when we do drone strikes and we kill folks, especially U.S., that's got consequences. That you criticize the administration for that, right? Et cetera. There are a lot of things that have consequences. So the Democrats played politics before the election. Republicans are playing politics before and after the election. I don't see what the big deal here is.
Not to mention, I mean, these are CIA talking points. Who's privy to them? The White House, whoever they share it with, and the Intelligence Committee of the U.S. Senate. And that is comprised of people like Lindsey Graham and people like John McCain. So this was not just kept to Susan Rice as her script for the Sunday morning shows. These were shared with everybody who would be privy to that in a normal circumstance.
Right. But, you know, the last point, though, is that, you know, this idea that she's not qualified and I don't trust her, you know, I've got like a pretty big ears for racial language, and I'm hearing them there. You know, but this is not a reasonable way to do. You could say you don't appreciate it.
I didn't pick that up, but I'll tell you, you know, the one person they said was unqualified for the Supreme Court was Sonia Sotomayor. They didn't say it about Kagan. They did say it about Sotomayor. There's a lot of coincidences in there.
And they would come back with Condoleezza Rice and say, well, we supported Condoleezza Rice. It's just Susan Rice.
And they even said that about the president, even after he'd been president for 4 years. So.